waiting for a confirmation from our IT staff as usual. So we waiting for Alessio. Our IT manager needs to give us the okay. Oh, they keep saying we're not on streaming. It's crazy because one is seeing us, another one is not. Do you have friends that are actually watching us right now, Tim?
No, I unfortunately was unable to do any sharing because I've spent the last 3 days basically
The
on this
video.
video.
Yeah.
I worked on it to 3:30 this morning and then slept from 3:30 to 7, and I started on it again at 7 and finished it just before like 2 o'clock. So yeah, as far as the editing goes, it's really cumbersome putting all these captions in there and
Wow.
put it together. I'm not super good at editing the stuff, but there's just so much content that I had to do. It took forever. And
Yeah.
I've been trying to get that video done, and I'm way behind on what remains of my businesses. I need to be taking care of that. So it's been a busy week.
Yeah, I mean we are on streaming. We are on streaming because I can see they just sent me a screenshot. We're actually visible out there. So hang on a second. Okay. So can we go? Are we visible, guys? Streaming from Facebook. Okay. Okay, so we'll go. Sorry again, folks, for this. We had a kind of like a fake starting actually because weren't sure if we were actually visible on Facebook Live. Usually our live stream are streamed both on YouTube and Facebook, but we've had this crazy news this morning. The Explain Group, after several years non-stop YouTubers, then we've been banned, our contents removed, and we just realized that we're living in a war that it's advocating fascism and censorship instead of trying to free people, and that's the main reason why we're here tonight. Tonight Central Europe time and afternoon back in the United States with Tim Dever, founder of the PBI, People's Bureau of Investigation. He's going to introduce himself and the great feats that he's coming up with, that we believe it's a game changer not only in the United States but all over the world. The initiative from Team Dever actually prompted us to invite him over, not only to show him our appreciation and endorsement, but also in the hope that through Tim's message and our united efforts to do what we started today, we can wake up people to the reality of their lives, the reality of the condition in which they're forced to live right now, and finally stand up for what matters most, which is freedom and the right to think, the right to make their own decisions without being limited or restricted. So, Tim, it's an honor, sir, to be here with you tonight. How are you?
Great, Diego. Thanks for having me on tonight, or tonight by you and this afternoon by me. But yeah, so I'm excited to be here. just looking forward to getting our freedom back over the next year or so. Hopefully, it'll happen faster rather than slower. That's what I'm doing, is just trying to make videos that kind of wake people up, that they have rights, that they have the right to be free and not wear a mask and be masked and things of that nature. So that's what we're doing.
And I think what we're thinking about tonight was more like, speaking of freedom, to have like a free conversation between me and Tim upon different topics that would touch upon freedom, civil rights, and especially the people, as we put on the title. But the Minotaur's Code is obviously my personal research on the labyrinth and the maze that we're all embedded into, and we've been there for so many centuries, so much so that we don't even realize that we are caged inside a maze. So we're trying to expose this code via different people, special people like Tim, for example, who he is fully awakened, and as a matter of fact, he's not only awakened by himself, but he's doing his best. He's trying all he can to wake up people all over the world. So today it's about freedom. Today it's about the people. Today it's about we. And as we said in the last post, we said people live and die, lie, love, but when the hopes is gone, then we fight. So tonight, this kind of fight, we're not using weapons, we're not using violence, we're not buying into the provocation of these elites, of these governments, but we're using something that is even sharper than the sword, which is word, speech, free speech. And today, YouTube banned us. We don't care. We're going to find a way to spread the word out. Tim, why don't you introduce yourself, and what is this magnificent PBI? What's all about?
So the People's Bureau of Investigation is founded to investigate governments and anyone that's encroaching on the rights of the people. That's basically the concept. Eventually, we want to have offices in every county in the United States, and potentially even internationally. So currently, everyone's a member or an agent, I say, of the People's Bureau of Investigation. You're an agent. Everyone listening today is an agent. At birth, you're an agent. Someday we'll have paid agents, but in reality, everybody is an agent. So the PBI is, like I said, in the states, the government is watching themselves. That doesn't work. You know, there's a saying, the fox watching the hen house. That's been going on for so long here, and they just continue to get away with everything, including murder. So it's time the people have the ability to walk into governmental office, whether it be a county, a state, or a local, state, or federal government establishment, no matter what it might be, police department, anything. The people walk in and say, we're here to discuss, we'd like to discuss whatever the issues might be, concerns of the time, corruption, anything like that, from anyone up to and including the custodian, the secretary, you name it. Just say, hey, we need an office, and we need to talk to the people here, because these governments are our representatives. They're not our superiors. They're public servants, and the public servants have gone rogue, and now they're tyrants, and they're everywhere. The globe's covered with them. You know, Klaus over there at the World Economic Forum claims that he has 10,000 global shapers planted in 400 cities. Well, I know that to be, he doesn't have those people stationed in menial positions. They're the likes of governors, businesses, it looks like a president in the United States. I mean, Joe Biden did not win this election. It's a plant. He's a plant. He's a sympathizer to the World Economic Forum and the Chinese Communist Party and all that. So the people need to have some, in reality, the government's supposed to do what the concept of the PBI is to represent the people, right? That's the objective of the government, or that's what the people expect from them, because we elect them to represent us. We vest powers in the government, and then they do what we want them to do. But they're doing everything but what we want them to do. So that's the concept of the People's Bureau of Investigation, is to restore the republic, protect the republic, and basically oversee and watch the government. That's the gist of it.
And I think this concept actually has its roots way before the governments were even set up the power that they have right now. Because the PBI means actually to going back to the origins of people. Individuals is what make a country, not the governments. The country is made just because the individuals are there executing and exerting their sovereignty onto a territory, and then choosing representatives to work and act on their behalf. So, but now, as Tim said, it's going exactly in the opposite. The governments are taking full authority over a territory, over citizens, and this authority becomes a totalitarian authority. It's not democracy anymore. It's a fake democracy because you're right. If you want to go talk to a local government, how many steps you have to take before you can actually get to a representative and talk to him about the problems. You will have a lot of scrutiny. You will have guards probably blocking you. You can probably be arrested because you're making a public unrest, or you're making noise on the street. And we've seen now last year, Tim, we've seen like three different organizations that were wreaking havoc on the street, like the Antifa and the Black Lives Matter, and what they call the Q members, but in fact we all know that were just it was a staged stuff. Like Tim, by the way, he was one of the many who went peacefully to the Capitol Hill on January 6th. So maybe we can interpose this, Tim. Why don't you tell us your experience there at the Capitol Hill? What actually happened on January 6th?
Oh, okay. So yeah, I went to the Capitol, and I have a motorhome. Drove out there with a friend of mine and pulled the Jeep behind it, and when we got there, and it was literally the most patriotic day of my entire life. I was just blown away by the patriotism and the people that came out. I just saw people for miles. I literally just sat there with my jaw down, just in total shock. I've seen some pretty amazing things in my life. I've seen the White Sox win the World Series with a walk-off home run. I've seen some pretty cool things. In fact, I rated it as the number 7th best thing that I ever experienced. And that's, I numbered them all: my being married, having kids, each one of my kids, meeting my wife. Number 7 was the rally. And then on the way home, I was just shocked. I was talking to my wife, and she says, the kids were coming home for Christmas because we had to have a late Christmas because of COVID. My kids couldn't be in town for the actual Christmas. So they're like, they don't want to see you because you were at the rally. And no, they called it, she said, the kids don't want to see you because you were at the riot. I'm like, the riot? Well, I didn't even know that what went down there. I was on the Capitol. I was up on the stairs and the scaffolding. I was in the upward direction. I don't know. People went in below, allegedly, and now it turns out a lot of it is false flag and fake. And I've seen a video where there was acting going on by the personnel in the building and stuff. So anyway, she says the kids don't want to see you because they're all concerned about the masks. As I was there without masks, they saw my post on Facebook. I'm in a crowd without a mask. And I'm like, wow. And I literally had to live in my RV behind my office for 3 days so they could visit their mother on our Christmas event that was scheduled for January 8th. So I hurried back for that and then stayed in my RV for a couple of days because I could have been a carrier, right? So that's how far that people have gone, that I missed out on Christmas with my family over the virus I refuse to name because it gives it power. So
Exactly.
that's that like I said, the most incredible event. And then I come home, and now I hear I'm going to potentially get arrested. I hear people are getting taken down. They're coming to their homes and interrogating them. And were you in the building? They're tracking credit card usage. If you use the credit card there during that day, all this kind of stuff. And I hear all this bad stuff that I'm an insurrector, and it's over the top. It's just crazy. So
But actually, this experience tells us one thing that I already started to observe last year, but actually more so since President Trump went into office in 2017. Because when he started to take office and to execute a lot of orders and to take some actions that were unprecedented by other presidents before him, and no administration have taken down so many criminals, and especially pedophiles and Satanists like Trump did, two things happened. One thing is Trump was suddenly against everyone. It was totally isolated. It was alone for some time, and that reminded me, Tim, about the JFK. At some point,
I was just gonna say, well, look what they did to JFK.
exactly,
They
JFK.
ended him. They ended him, and look what they did to Trump. Two impeachments. In fact, that's in my latest video. I mentioned that. They got him two impeachments, and then they derailed him out of office with a stolen election. So I guess that's better than being assassinated. But I mean, it's basically character assassination. He's been through that for 5 years. The man is. I mean, he's taken a hard beating, but thank God he's done it because
Well,
it put us where we are.
I think the difference that we can draw a line between Kennedy and Trump, because Kennedy, for some reason, maybe he didn't have all the way protection from the military that Trump did. For some reason,
Right.
he got lost at some point. He must have been isolated for good. But Trump, they never did. Actually, Trump had the military backing him up at every step.
Well, what they did is that when the Kennedy thing happened, they created the whole. I mean, they got the generals together over that whole situation to make sure that that would never happen again. That was the plan. So, yeah, unfortunately, Kennedy took the fall because they were ill prepared. Yeah.
Exactly. So, and the other thing that we witnessed since Trump went to office and started the fight against everyone, he used a lot of irony and sarcasm. He almost made a fool of himself. But in fact, all of his speech and words were kind of in the code, and that's one of the reasons behind my Minotaur's code. Trump could have been the Theseus of the Greek mythology, the one who actually went through the maze. He had a thread. He was following blindly something, but there was a plan behind. And since Trump started to put out a narrative that was completely different from the mainstream politics and the media, what happened was that a lot of people, a lot of Americans, millions of Americans, started progressively to understand that there was something behind a man, something bigger than him. And they started to
Right.
trust, because at that point something else was leaked out. Everything Trump was saying was actually backing up what a team of possibly military were also leaking out, and they were
Right.
talking code. So two realities started to form, and I called it multi-realism. That's what we're living right now. So many
Right.
people are actually believing in two different realities that both are correct. Both realities are existing and coexisting at the same time. That's why I think, Tim, this year and last year it's unprecedented, because we're actually witnessing a split in reality that it's both believable and concrete, and it's colliding together.
True. Yeah, the two realities definitely exist. The realities are controlled by the people's thoughts, and right now, the media has control of. They use billions of dollars to throw propaganda at everybody and convince them of their reality, and that reality wins by and large. Now, that's the whole concept of my video about the mask mandate, which I just posted. Unfortunately, I wanted to get it so you could see
We're
it before
getting
we
there.
got on.
We're getting there in that concept of the mask. It's one of the topic of our conversation today.
Yeah, but to use whatever it takes to convert the reality is what I'm getting at. Is the reality has to be, the people have to hear a different side of the story, right? And they're not going to hear it from the media. The media is not going to tell them that they have rights to not wear a mask and to breathe freely. They're going to tell everybody that they have to wear a mask because that's the controlling narrative of the 1% of the 1%. elite. You know, there's like a 1% Luciferian entity to the 1% elite that control the world. And that 1% Luciferian are the real controllers of everything. And those guys have got control of the media. So, I mean, they even derailed Donald Trump. So the guy won the election, and then the media just kept on saying they're unfounded claims with no evidence. And I listened to 5 days in a row of all day people complaining about they had a pile of affidavits, sworn affidavits, and they couldn't use these affidavits. They couldn't give the people enough time to come up and speak. So they had a timer that went off every 3 minutes in Michigan, an air horn on somebody's phone that they set to give people 3 minutes to talk. The entire day, people would say 3 minutes and they get cut off with the air horn, and then they have to stop speaking. The moderator would say, "You're done, you have to sit down." There were that many sworn affidavits of people complaining about what happened in Michigan. But meanwhile, the media I would come home and I'd turn on the news, which I refuse to do anymore. I haven't listened to news in like 4 months, not even 5 minutes of it, because I know it's propaganda. Even Fox News is propaganda. So I come home and I hear the news. My wife would have the news on and they'd be saying unfounded claims with no evidence. Donald Trump's making unfounded claims with no evidence. Meanwhile, I just listened to 10 hours of evidence for 5 days in a row. But the media perpetuated the lie. So what we have to do as people is perpetuate truth. And I keep saying, you said we're not using weapons. Well, I got to beg to differ with you. This is a weapon. And I use it aggressively, and our computers are weapons. And the key is they have their cameras and they have the money to perpetuate the lies, but truth is more powerful than lies. And we have 8 billion people globally. If 8 billion people share the video that I made about mask mandates being eliminated and put pressure on these CEOs all over the globe that are mandating a mask to control us, the mask mandates would go by the wayside. But people have to literally realize this is World War III. This is the weapon. We're not using bombs. Bombs have been replaced. Planes and tanks have been replaced with disinformation. Information warfare is what we're in the middle of. It's economic and information warfare, and we're knee deep in it. And people need to realize this is a war and quit sharing. I always tell people, stop sharing your recipes online. Stop posting complaints about things, sharing silly memes, having all this fun, and take your time and use it wisely, because this is a war. Share things that open people's minds. That's the way to do it. That's how we'll grow in an exponential rate as far as the learning curve or the awakening curve, because I feel like we're stuck in limbo and I'm tired of it. I'm ready to go, to the awakening stage and the light, and leave the dark in the past, and have the fact that Biden stole the election disclosed. We keep hearing about an emergency broadcast system that's going to shut down all this fake media that's basically perpetuating lies and brainwashing the people, and it just isn't happening yet. So my goal is to try and help it move along. I want to at least be the oil to lubricate it and help it move.
And what actually, Tim, is not just plain words, but it's a full force action. What he did, I think a few weeks ago or a month ago, that I've seen it personally on a video he shared on Telegram and many other platforms. He went there in the front of Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., and he read a paper in front of the National Guard and police, the Capitol Hill police. He read a document about the zoning and not endorsing a Biden administration as a president of the United States anymore.
We abolished the corporation. We abolished the United States corporation.
That's a big concept that I was going to get right there, right now.
It's based off the Declaration of Independence is what we did.
Exactly.
Yeah. It
What
says on the first page of the Declaration that the people have the right and the duty to abolish the destructive government. It doesn't get much more clear than that. Doesn't really give you any instruction and detail of how to do that. We wrote a notice, an official notice that we served them, and that notice has to be responded to. if you draft it properly, they have 21 days to respond, and they must respond. And if they don't respond, the abolishment would become fact. So on April 7th, General Flynn posted the U.S. government, or he said that the corporation has officially been abolished. That's on our page. That's on my Telegram page. That post from April 7th. So no one responded to us. They had 21 days. So technically, the government has been abolished by the People's Bureau of Investigation and the people. So that's how it works, and that's what we're doing with the mask mandates. We're letting the corporations know a very similar thing. We're serving them notice to
Well,
tell them
then,
you can't take our rights.
Tim, you're going to explain this concept about the mask because it's very important now. But I would like to close up the chapter about the Capitol by saying that what you did actually was not just an act of duty as a free citizen of your country, but was actually an act of courage today. Because what's the problem? When you said there are 8 billion people that theoretically belong to the PBI, to the Bureau of Investigation, yes, but what's the catch? The problem is that people have been living in fear for so long time. That's the key word. It's not the freaking, pardon my French, the virus.
Right.
It's not the pandemics. It's the root is that people living in fear will never stand up for their rights because fear it's clouding everything, everything on their mind. And Tim, by the way, guys, is not just a man of action that goes on the road and serve documents to governments. He's actually a very spiritual guy, and he we talked in private. We talked a lot about this. It's not just about taking action. It's about having the proper spiritual preparation in order to overcome fear, getting attuned with the spirituality that it's within us and behind us, backing us up, and really making us strong enough to act upon the reality in which we live. If we are not spiritual, we're empty. If we're empty, we're vulnerable to fear attack, and if we're feared, we cannot be part of the PBI because simply we don't see it. We're too afraid even to look at the governments. We think that our governors are gods. It's like a unquestionable authority. But what Tim did, he proved to everyone that the government is not an authority. The government must serve the people. We, the people, have the authority, the right, the natural right, by birthright, to go and question every action of our representative. Tim, talk a little bit about the spiritual side behind the PBI.
Well, the spiritual side is very, very vast. I'm 54 now. When I was 36, I became born again Christian. I was kind of agnostic, even atheist. So at 36, I was invited to a church. I accepted Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior. My life changed like a light switch. In prayer, I offered the Lord. I said, I'll do anything for you, and I offered my life as a living sacrifice. I said, if you want me to leave my family and go to another country or something like that. Now, I never was compelled to do that. I was never led to do that. And actually, over the years, this has been 18 years, I thought to myself, I don't, I felt like, why is God not leading me to do something when I made this offer, right? It's not happening. So I'm working on arcade games. I own an e-commerce business selling Pac-Man machines and pinball machines for the last 15 years. Prior to that was a security company. And so I thought to myself, why isn't he? I started questioning my own faith. There is no God because he's not taking me up on the offer. Well, it turns out the entire time he was guiding me to learn things like how to put videos together for the business, how to build a website, all the different business aspects to running a business. It was all part of it. And then when this freedom thing came up back in April, it hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, well, that's what God wants me to do. And then through prayer and everything, it became very evident that I need to focus my energy on this because the freedom. Every day I feel like I'm not working towards this is another day where there's 8 billion people losing another day of freedom, and I can't handle that. I just can't. So yeah, there's a lot of prayer involved in this. I'm like I said, I have Jesus is important part of my life, my belief. Um, so yeah, that's a big aspect of it.
Yeah, and obviously, from our standpoint, the Explain group is not exactly following any particular religion, but we do acknowledge that the major religions that have so many followers and they have a strong spiritual concept, all of them are worth respecting and understanding. And we know that the concept of God in general as a creator has a huge energetic value. So the energy that it's moving the world and people together, it's what really resonate and should resonate among us people, because we have frequency. And by the way, Tim, I'm getting you guys a bit and pieces of Tim instead of self-introducing himself, because I know he's a very humble guy. I'm going to give you a little bit and pieces as we touch upon some topics. So he's also a scientist. He comes from a family of scientists. So we cannot say that he's a fanatic or a fundamentalist in religion. As you heard from him, he said only late in his maturity he embraced God. But before that, he had experiences with his family and with science. So he maybe, if he wants, he will tell us later. But the thing is, the energy, the frequency, the vibration of each individual set up the reality in which we live. And that's the reason why I said before, we have a reality split in two. We have the world right now running at two different vibrations, two different frequencies. People who are completely brainwashed by the mainstream media fails to see the other reality. And the guys like me, like Tim, like others who are waking up and trying
I
to
don't
see.
know that they fail to see it. I think they strategically manipulate it to not see it because they want to control us. So when you say they fail to see it, I think it's entirely the opposite. There's an intent to not portray it and let it be known,
No,
because the
what
people
I
in the
meant.
lead know that we are in that frequency that you're speaking of, and they don't want anyone to catch on to that. They want to keep
No, no,
us in
no.
a box, right?
What I meant, it was from the people. I was talking from the people standpoint. The people who have been brainwashed for so long by the mainstream media. The people fail to see beyond the propaganda
Oh,
because,
right. Yeah,
because,
correct.
like you
Right.
said, the media have
Yeah,
been
yeah. I got
brainwashed
you.
them. They
Right.
have, they have kind of coated them with a shield of lies so thick that they fail to see beyond that. But if you wake up, if you accept that there is another reality beyond the illusion of the labyrinth, beyond this huge monster that is hiding behind the corner, the Minotaur, that it's an entity. It's not necessarily human. And guys, we have to wake up on that. We are not just human on Earth. There are other entities that are mingling with us. They are controlling possibly others. And in order for us, for the people, to stand out and fight for their freedom, we have to resonate at a higher frequency. The higher frequency, we can talk about the fifth dimension, we can talk about the galactic shift, about anything, we can name it. The principle is higher frequency would open up to a new different world and would make the mainstream media, the elite, the corrupt government look like joke.
Yeah, it's happening. It's happening. It's just a matter of time. This is all part of the awakening. We all have to hit a rock bottom, as they say, to come out of it. But yeah, there's definitely there's definitely a spiritual entity that we don't see. There's something going on that's causing a lot of this, and it's not. It's definitely not human. I mean, the people that are doing these wrong things, these evil things, these really evil things, they're victims. Many of them, everyone's a victim of this evil, and even these extremely evil people, I look at them as victims now because I see it. I see what's happening in the world, and you can clearly see that um, the worst of the worst people, they were victimized when they were younger by somebody else who was victimized, and it becomes like a chain. So we need to break that chain of evil.
Yes, this is another very important concept that if we understand this basic concept of frequencies and energies, then all the rest of the narrative and the illusion and the circus that we've been living all this past year and we're still living right now, it will become very clear that behind this we have just an elite of people or entities or beings that are just manipulating constantly human beings into keeping them at lower energy, lower frequencies, so that they can exploit the huge potential, the endless potential that we bear within. Now, what's happening now, thanks to I don't want to give too much credit to Donald Trump because I don't think one man alone could have done this, but he was the face behind the change, that's for sure. For some reason, he stood up and he became the face of the change. No matter people love or hate him, it doesn't matter. The concept is that whoever chose him and was behind him and is behind him, it's creating a new reality. This new reality can allow us to go beyond the conspiracy theories that so far have been relegating the people who were waking up into. For the first time, we have actually an endorsement by authority, by powerful people, by the military that actually are acknowledging that there is something else than CNN, Fox TV, WHO, UN, and all these organizations that we think they are the lords of the world and they bear the truth within. It's not correct. In fact, what they've done, they've hurt people. They've hurt people and they've hurt the ability of people to stand up for themselves and to exercise their free will and the free right. Free will, Tim, this is a huge concept that I think it taps in right into the PBI, right?
Yeah, well, these people have what they do is they obtain energy by keeping us down. That's the way I understand it. They get their energy from these really bad things, and yeah, our free will is definitely a factor where like we need to exercise our free will. We need to wake the people. That's all. I can't say it enough. If you and I are just here talking and we are like-minded, and then there's all these other like-minded people that might be listening to us, we got to get outside that group and we got to exercise our free will and express to people. That's why I liked Facebook so much, which I'm now banned from there, is because there were so many people that I found were in the box in that on that platform. You know, I joined like 150 political groups, prayer groups, constitutionalist groups, conservative groups, libertarian groups, all these different groups that had tens of thousands, Trump groups, tons of Trump groups. And I would create a post to wake people up because there's like 50,000 people in this group, and I'd post it out there and then try and look, see what kind of response I got. But I noticed a lot of people, the friends that I had on there are a lot of people were helpless on Facebook. Seems like the programming on Facebook is to create helpless people that just run around frantically. I would have people come and approach me in there and say, "Hey, what do we do? What are we going to do? What are we going to do?" There's just a lot of helplessness. That whole platform is made to program people to be addicted to their platform, and then to feel helpless. And that's why I was on that platform so much, is because I feel like that's the people we need to target. Now I notice I'm on Telegram, everyone's like-minded, so we're all bouncing the same thing off of one another. We've got to go get the people that are still asleep and throw some cold water on them and wake them up. That's his latest video. I know it's gonna wake people up. I mean, it's entitled "How to End Every Mass Mandate on Earth." So, and it really is a plan to do that, about pressuring, like I said, the numbers of people that we have, because we do have a lot of people in these weapons here. If we use them intelligently and stop clowning around and literally focus our energy and look at it as a war. You and I are in a foxhole in a war. That's why I don't know how people sleep. When I see a lot of posts on Telegram, when you can't sleep, when what's going on to the kids and what's happening to the babies, and and adrenochrome stuff and all this And when you see kids with masks on that have a 0.01% mortality rate or something of that nature, and they're all masked up at the park or playing out in the sun, and that thing is keeping the germs in there, and it's not good oxygen. When you see these things, you just feel like you need to do something. I don't see how people can relax. I have a hard time relaxing. When I take a break, it's a pretty short term break, and then I'm back at it because we're in a war, and I wouldn't have been like in Vietnam and then walking away with my machine gun, leaving my compadres in the foxhole. So this is a war, man, and people got to
Well,
realize we're at war.
you
We
know,
need to
Tim.
spread the word.
Tim, at the time of Vietnam or Korean War or even Afghanistan or Iraq, we are, at least the United States, been fighting wars that maybe they didn't want to win or they couldn't win, whatever. And that was a war that had rules and you had engagement and you have, tasks and everything. Now, this is for the first time probably a war that we cannot see in terms of the standard way we see war. Like we were deceived by this fake virus and even more fake pandemics into believing that it's an emergency, health emergency, when in fact was an attack. But the attack, we cannot say that was from a country to another country. This was like a free for all. This was an attack by an elite to the mass. And that's the reason why immediately a lot of countries were not prepared, were disoriented, were confused, and then they started. There were countries actually that were started to question, for example, the crazy guidelines of the WHO, the nonsensical emergency that the most powerful countries they put in place, almost like it was a script already written long time ago. So there was
Well,
this
it
too.
was written a long time ago. There are three scripts. There's the agenda, was it 2030? Or no,
Exactly.
yeah, it's 2030
Hmm.
agenda 201,
Hmm.
and now this new SPARS. It's all been documented. They planned this. It's a plan. We're living in a simulation
Yeah.
where they simulated it. We're living in multiple simulations, but the main simulation is we know who wins. The
Right.
good guys win, but these Luciferians just continue to fight because they know nothing else.
By the
You know.
way, about the multiple realities and multiple futures, why don't we touch a little bit about the project Looking Glass? Because I think you know about it, I know about it, but maybe not many people know about it. How about the timelines? People think it's a science fiction to look up into the possible futures of our lives or our world. But in fact, there are scientists and countries that have the mean to try to look into the possible futures and orientate their agenda according to that. But what's happening right now?
Yeah, as far as what Operation Looking Glass, what's the question?
The question is the timelines they usually the technology was able to find as what timeline would be more likely to happen if a certain decision was made. But now what's happening is that all the possible timelines are funneling into just one outcome, and the outcome
Right.
is that the evil is losing.
Yeah, the evil will lose. The outcome is that the people wake up and then the evil loses. So we need to progress that along because that is the outcome. That's been run through, from my understanding, my research, the Project Looking Glass and the Yellow Book or Yellow
Exactly.
Cube
Hmm.
says that. Quantum computers say that. You plug in all the different scenarios, and even though these people want to depopulate us, bring us down to 500 million people,
Hmm.
it's not going to happen. But
Exactly.
it's amazing that they continue to try. It's an uphill battle. It's a losing battle. They won't win, but they just won't stop. It's because they're caught in their evil ways. So, but yeah, we're gonna win. We're winning, and the conversion transition is happening where the two timelines are colliding, and there's going to be a victor, and we know who it is. So, like I said, let's make it happen. Right? That's the objective.
Absolutely. And now we're stepping into the hottest topic that we have right now because we're about to talk about masks. The masks are not just detrimental for our health, are not just plain useless in the case of this fake pandemics, but in virus in general. And I remind you guys, there are doctors, scientists who are telling this over and over, and they're being silenced by the mainstream medical authoritarian elite, such as the WHO. There are people, for example, I was reading yesterday about a scientist from Belgium who is saying that actually these new vaccines, the mRNA vaccines, are only spreading more variants than if people don't get vaccinated. And I'm not talking about a conspiracy theorist. I'm talking about a scientist who used to work for WHO, and then he went out, actually used to work also for the Gates Foundation. He's a virologist, an immunologist. I don't want to make his name right now because we're in the process to contact him. I'm not sure if he's willing to talk to us, but I've already made a first contact with him, so I'm personally in touch with him. I don't know if you want to make it out on videos, but we already got another scientist ready to go, and I'm telling you guys, what he's going to say, it's mind-boggling. So what Tim said about it, about the mask, not only the masks are unconstitutional if you are forced to wear them. Not only they put your health in jeopardy because, like he said, you're going to develop your own germs-based environment that it's basically clogs your breathing when you keep the mask for a prolonged time onto your mouth. But also, it's a symbol of surrendering. It's a symbol of giving up. It's not a mask. It's a muzzle. What do you put the muzzle to? The muzzle to dogs so they don't bite, so they don't bark. They're basically, if you see the dog with the muzzle, you see his ears always down, you see his demeanor, he's all weak, all vulnerable, he's not happy with the muzzle. So would you put a muzzle on your dog if it's not necessary? I don't think so. Why are we putting a muzzle on ourselves then? And look at the people while they're wearing masks. Look at their eyes. Look at the way they walk. They're all crouched, all the shoulders bent, because obviously they're not happy, but they're afraid. That's the key word. If you're not afraid, you're not going to do that. And now probably Tim is going to share part of his video because I really wanted to give credit to him. He spent 2 or 3 days straight just to edit this video, get it ready for today. And of course, I want him to share at least the first couple of minutes of it. And then, Tim, also explain to us, what did you find legally in the United States of America that could second your theory that the mask mandate is illegal and unconstitutional?
Well, just the mere fact that they're making you wear a mask is illegal, but because it is unconstitutional to try and tell somebody that we were born with the God-given right to breathe fresh air, right? So that's called an unalienable right. No one can take that away. It doesn't matter whether it be a government or a business. So we have the right to breathe, and no one can take that away from us. But they have, so we've got to go and get it back, you know. But yeah, there are, for example, my understanding here is the designation of medical device by the FDA, Food, Drug, Cosmetic Act, states that in every state, including Illinois, where I live, face masks are regulated as a medical device. So merely recommending that someone wear a regulated medical device, a mask, is unlicensed practice of medicine, which in some states is a 5th-degree felony, punishable by up to 1 year in prison and a $2,500 fine. So these businesses are basically practicing medicine without a license because it's a mask and everyone thinks, oh, it's okay because they see it on the TV and you can buy them at the store. That still doesn't make it okay for somebody to force you and tell you have to wear one to come in their place of business, even if you're in their business, because when you're in their business, they'll use this excuse that it's their business or it's a club. Some of these warehouse clubs they have, but you're still mandating the taking away of somebody's right to breathe in order to shop or be an employee there. That's the worst thing. The 2 businesses we just served our documentation to are Amazon and Walmart. Combined, they have 3.5 million employees. So there are 2 CEOs listening to these bogus 3-letter entities, the CDC, the WHO, and all that, who are listening to one governor and then one CEO is telling 3.5 million, or two CEOs combined, is telling 3.5 million people that they can't work, they can't make a living without wearing a mask. So they're basically they're coercing them. I mean, it's
Oh, it's a plain blackmailing. It's blackmailing.
yeah, being told you have to wear a mask or you can't make a living. It's like, oh, I guess I have to wear a mask. So what's next? Hey, you have to cut your finger off to come and
Exactly.
work for us. I mean, where does it end? You have to shave your head. We only allow bald people to work here. That's not how it works. The people have the rights, not the companies, not the CEOs. So there's numerous laws. I mean, so the customer wearing a mask enters a business illegal under federal civil right law. Title II requires a place of public accommodation. Their business provide free and equal access to all services and facilities, right? Without discrimination. So the first place, back in April, I got almost arrested at Menard's hardware store. They called the police. I had an altercation. I called my constitutional lawyer friend who got me involved to start learning about these laws and things, learning about rights. And I got him on the telephone. The police let me leave, but it got ugly. But they're telling me you can shop online. Well, a hardware store, you got a plumbing event, your pipe burst, or you need a screw. I'm going to go shop online for a screw that I need to match at the hardware. I got to open a tray and go, oh, yeah, this is going to fit. Half the stuff you're buying at the hardware, you're jury rigging to make something work. So to tell somebody you got to shop online, or our agent Jose who went into Amazon, he just had a new baby. Maybe he needed formula. They chased him out of the Amazon store. It's called Amazon Fresh. It's one of two locations, and I believe one's in California and then one's 5 minutes away. So he got chased out of there by the masked people, telling him he can't be there. We have a right. The store employee said we have a right to do this because it's our business, and they don't have a right to tell you can't be there if you don't want to suffocate yourself. That's ludicrous. It doesn't make any sense. It's nonsensical, and that's what they're doing. And these things are about human rights. They're about the Constitution and the God-given rights. Our rights come from God. They don't come from man. They don't come from a CEO at a store. And these guys have 3.5 million, two people listening to three-digit or three-letter companies and a couple of governors, and
And they decide the destinies of millions of people. That's why.
Right. And what if this guy that Jose needed to get some baby formula? He just had a baby 3 days ago. He came out to do this the day after his baby was born.
Right.
He was that enthusiastic because they ruined they made him quit his job because he knows too much. They forced him out of employment. He had to sue somebody over it. So he had to sue his former employer. So he came out the day after his baby was born to go on this mission that we conducted over at this Amazon Fresh location. But what if he needed baby formula and his baby's hungry or his baby's sick? He's being told he has to go shop online? How does that work? He's going to wait 3 days for baby formula to show up in mail? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. And this is what they're doing. It's about control. It's not about our health. If it was about their health, they wear the one individual who wants to wear a mask could wear a mask. It's their right to be free and wear a mask, and it's our right to not wear a mask. That's how it needs to work.
Exactly. So why don't you show us a little bit of your video? Let's try if the sharing works. I would like to see at least the beginning. Maybe.
Yeah, I'll show you some key components
please.
To it.
And then let us know where we can watch the full video. Maybe you can give up your official website, or even there is someone asking for your personal Telegram channel or contact. I don't know if you want to release that, but
it's the People's Bureau of Investigation.
Exactly.
Is the Telegram, and then the website is thepbi.us. That's
Perfect.
the website. But right now, I just posted the video on Rumble because you told me that you got booted from YouTube for talking about a mask. So I know they're going to get me on that, as this is all about the mask. So it's just on Rumble, and it's called "How to End the Mask Mandate." How to end every mask mandate on Earth. So that's the title of the video. You can search it on Rumble. But yeah, I can try and share that with you, a little bit of that. Are you seeing me right now?
I'm still seeing you. I'm still seeing you. I'm going to tell you, okay, okay, maybe. Let me see. You're sharing the screen. No, now you're frozen. Let me see if you can.
Oh, frozen.
Okay.
Let me do this. Let me try that.
Let's try. Let's try because it's the first time that we're attempting this.
Let's try that.
Okay.
Is that any results there?
You're still frozen, so why don't you try to start the video to see if maybe it starts?
Oh, well, that's time sensitive. Is that the video you're seeing frozen? Yeah, that's me on apply. These things mean that they have to. Is that what you're seeing right there? Within the corporation, you hear it? Get it to the person it's addressed to. This one being.
Hold on, before we go.
Okay.
Are you?
Yeah, we're seeing it. We're seeing it. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Please explain what we're watching.
Okay, so take a look at this. I'll bring you to right here. This is the document that we're serving to people. You need to write it in this way, and we have links to that. And this way you can serve notice to these CEOs. And you have to have this because it makes them, one, get the document to the person's addressed to. The technical jargon on the letter forces them to do that. And they have 21 days to respond to the letter. And if they don't respond to the letter, then that they admit that they are accepting the letter. So if I don't get a response from Jeff Bezos, from Amazon, he's accepting that we're mandating that masks become entirely up to the individual.
Got it.
Is the man. That's how it's written. So he has to do that. So the component here is explaining that, how to.
When did you serve it? When did you serve this document exactly?
2 nights ago.
2 nights ago. Okay.
Yeah, 2 nights ago. And the document was given to the person's hand, Jessica, at Amazon, and she said she would get it to the party that needed to get to. So we did serve it there. So take a look at this. I'm going to show you this.
Okay.
Do you hear the audio when this plays?
I could hear it before.
Okay. So I'm going to show you this where Jose goes in and they basically somebody approaches him, and I'll let you hear it and see what you see here. But send it to them or hand deliver it to them like we do in the video. And that's.
I'm sorry, in front of
the. So this is Jose walking in right here. That's all you need to do. So here comes the video.
We have free masks at the front of the store if you'd like one.
Oh, no thank you. I'm just.
We have a mask mandate here.
I'm sorry, what?
A mask mandate?
Oh yeah, I'm aware, but I just don't want to wear one. It's just, I'm just being a free human being.
Mm-hmm. We watched what
sir, you said it was 18?
You see that?
Hi there, we have a mask policy.
Yeah, are these the new cards?
Yeah.
Would you mind? And how does that work?
You put it in with your phone. You scan it on.
Now the streaming is not working properly, unfortunately.
How much are you able to talk to me without having a mask?
After this point, no longer, unless you put a mask on. If you can, I'd ask you to please escort the property.
Because I do have questions about. This is the first time that I've ever been to a store like this.
Yeah.
And I do have the Amazon Prime. Is that the same or is it different?
It's different.
It's different?
Yeah, you could look everything up online if you don't want to wear a mask. But for policy, for me to continue on with the conversation, you're going to have to put one on, or you just have to exit the building.
Okay. I get it.
Did you have any more questions about the mask policy? Because that's the only thing.
No,
I
no,
can
I'm
really
I'm
answer.
I'm aware of the mask policy because
Okay, so-
it's like that like in every store.
Right. So here's the mask.
No thank you.
Okay, so can you please exit the premises, sir? I'm sorry. I really don't want to make it an issue. I just want to let you know that it's our right as a company to provide a mask, which I've done, and then you have to do as a customer on our property to wear it.
Right, right. I understand what you're saying. That's fun. And I was just walking around and I was looking around. I don't need a Prime membership to buy anything.
No, but you do need a mask.
No, but I'm not wearing one.
I know.
Well,
Okay, then if you could please exit. Yeah.
Questions outside if you want.
Hold on. Before we go,
No, if you don't wear a mask, you actually have to exit.
I wouldn't be able to buy anything,
No, not without a mask.
but I was already shopping. I was
Well,
already.
that's why I'm here, to let you know that the policy is in. So I'm the assistant manager of the store. Hi. Yes, I am.
Hi, my name's Tim. I'm with the Bureau of Investigation.
Okay.
This official notice here in serious violation, Amazon in serious violation of multiple federal, state, and local laws, including gross violation of human rights. Amazon must immediately cease and desist all mask mandates and requirements.
Okay.
Masks must be entirely optional for all patrons and employees of Amazon. All signage must reflect mask use is entirely optional and up to the individual.
Okay.
You're required to get this notice to the CEO of the corporation. So they will be made aware.
We could speak right out here.
No, I can speak right here where you want, thank you.
Okay, so just on the policy.
So they will be made aware the corporation must be immediately alter their signage and policy to reflect that masks are entirely optional, only to be worn at the people's discretion. You can no longer require or even recommend the use of masks.
Okay, and this delivered, I'm sorry, what was your name?
My name is Tim, People's Bureau of Investigation, Tim Dever.
Okay, Tim.
After an investigation by the People's Bureau of Investigation has been determined a face mask is legally designated and medical device by the FDA, Food and Drug Administration, Cosmetic Act, Section 201,
And what does
definition
that
number
date
2.
that it was modified?
Therefore, in every state, including Illinois, face masks are regulated as medical device. Merely recommending that someone wear a regulated medical device, a mask, is the unlicensed practice of medicine. According to ORC 4731.41 and 4731.34, in many states, this is a 5th-degree felony, punishable up to 1 year in prison and a $2,500 fine.
Okay, when was this mandated?
It's been around.
Yeah, it's been around. This is just one.
So this is a corporation call, so this wouldn't go through with the management currently on duty. So
Yeah.
right now,
So furthermore,
I can just ask that.
forcing a customer to wear a mask to enter your business is illegal under federal civil rights law Title
Has this
2,
been entered in with corporate?
which requires that a place of public accommodation, your business must provide free and equal access to all services and facilities without discrimination. ORC 4112.0.
Don't feel comfortable, so if you could just please exit, and I will give everything
Totally
to
fine,
management.
Jessica.
Thank you.
Jessica, just so you know,
Now we're at that point. Are you hearing me?
Yes, Tim. Unfortunately, the video broke up a little bit. Like part of it was actually very smooth, so we could all understand what went on there, what you did, and I think it's amazing. Now, why don't you just add your own comments? What happened next?
So what we did after that, we did Walmart similarly, and Jim there, he who was with me in D.C. That did the reading, he basically awakened the two gentlemen, the door greeter and another employee, and gave them the lowdown on rights and how the world's supposed to be working. And they were learning. Jim gave them like a 10-minute conversation about that while I waited for a manager. We did a similar thing at Walmart. In that instance, she was an assistant or a coach, she said. She was not a manager. She would not take the document. So I mailed it, registered mail today. So
you can't leave it on the property. You need someone who actually physically take it from your hand, right? That's
correct. Yeah. Once they have it, they're responsible to get it to the CEO, and if they don't, then again it's on them, because they have 21 days to respond. If they don't respond, they've accepted your notice and what you've got documented.
So now can you confirm that your documents are both in the hands of Amazon and Walmart?
Amazon, yes. Walmart is in the mail, I believe. It just went out today. I was busy doing the editing, so it didn't go out until today.
We have to show this video, because this video, it's a bomb. What you did, Tim, you are actually you are proving that people have the right. Actually, people have the duty to educate themselves about all the caveats of the law that was made not for the people, but to keep people under ignorance. If we learn about the law, it's already there. We just have to learn how to use it. And Tim, how difficult was for you to get this employees' interest into what you were saying? Like, they were interested, they were afraid, or they were aggressive during your experience?
Every employee seemed very intrigued. Like, really? Like that? Well, Jessica there at the Amazon store, she was like beside herself. Like, when did this get passed? And these things have been around for years. It's like, no, it's not that they got passed. It's like they're being ignored. I never got to explain that to her. These rights exist. So, and then the gentleman there at the Walmart, the same thing. The interesting thing that I've kind of done with this is I've adopted it to where later in the video I go out in the parking lot and I explain to people the process. But I also explain that typically to serve notice over the years, over past history, you use a local newspaper to serve notice to people. And you put it in a newspaper, and that's the official notice. And then people have to respond to the printed newspaper, right? Well, we all know newspapers are kind of going by the wayside these days, right?
Exactly.
So what I announced later in the video is in 2021, due to the pandemic, so I'm using their pandemic against them, that we've enacted that it's public notice to just post a video. Okay, this is what the people have decided, right? So I post this video and say that this applies to all CEOs across the globe. Okay, I tell them that they have to stop the mandate and allow it to be up to the individual. And I tell everybody, including airlines, restaurants, hotels, every business needs to follow the lead. That's why we serve the two big companies, Walmart and Amazon, because those are the two monsters in the equation. I don't know what's out there where you're at, but
yeah,
I'm sure the name's Amazon and Walmart, right?
Absolutely.
So we want to get them so it's like a trickle down thing. If they change their signage out front to reflect that it's entirely optional and up to the individual, then that's great. Then everyone in smaller will follow suit. So we want to go and do that. But later in the video, I explained that the concept is to just share the video. If you just share the video and this thing gets out there to everybody, and it tells these CEOs that this video is their notice, that's the whole thing. Like I said in the video, when I'm in the parking lot explaining things after I shoot it, when you have the video, we have 20,000 views of the government being abolished. if there were 20 million,
Exactly.
people would accept it like that, and then the media would have to discredit it because they're the discrediting machine.
Of course.
So the same goes for this. 8 billion people. If we take these devices here and we share the heck out of it and put an effort in, like a full-time job, like I'm doing, I'm not getting paid. I haven't. This is no income for me, and I've been working this for a year, like sometimes 20-hour days, fighting for freedom. So if everyone used these devices and shared this thing across the world, the CEOs would lose. This is what it's about. This is the plan that we keep hearing about. The plan. Trust the plan. You know what the plan is? The plan is for the people to wake up and realize that they are the plan. That's the whole thing. So, yeah, it was an exciting.
Now I think Theme is definitely setting the example for this new practice, which is actually, as I said, returning to the origin of the natural rights of people to be free, to exercise free will and freedom. And I think the next step would be for other countries to check, because what Team was able to tap in for the law is that the masks in that state are considered to be a medical device, so that's the caveat. So I have to check, for example, that Italy has the same thing, and not like as a protective disposable devices that are not classified under medical law, because in that case would be a little bit more difficult to do the same as Tim did, but there must be a way, because still you are forcing people to enter wearing something that is not protecting anything for the purpose by which they were indicated. No medical evidence states that the mask or prolonged use of masks not carry the virus or blocks the virus to be transferred or transmitted. There is no evidence. There is no evidence simply because the virus is actually not passing through the air. It's completely different misinformation. No matter what the medical narrative is telling you, there are scientists who are going against this, and they're saying, no, that's wrong. The virus spreads through vibrations and frequencies, and if you keep it a high vibration or high frequency, even if you don't wear mask, you're shielded.
Right.
Yeah, but this is like...
Nothing will survive. If a high frequency, if we all resonate at a higher frequency, I believe cancer's cured. There's
absolutely.
There's no sickness, but we can't get there because we're all living in fear. So living in fear and being, pushed low frequencies,
and look,
televisions and everything else.
Tim, if you think this, what we just said, it's illogical, think about what happened in the first 5 months or 6 months since the fake pandemic started. How aggressively the mainstream mass media propagated the propaganda saying that we're living in a nightmare and there are deaths over deaths and there is an apocalyptic scenario and everybody's fighting a war and the virus is spreading at light speed, that like they were spending so many millions of dollars just to get this narrative out. And this is not how governments would react if they really were in front of a true emergency. There's no way. There's no way. So where's the logic in it? And people bought into it. Exactly. There's no logic.
The logic is when you realize it's a war and they're the enemy.
Absolutely.
That's where it becomes logical. When you sit back and you finally make the realization that this is a war and that's the enemy's practice, and now how do we combat it? Well, we got to use our phones and our computers. It always goes back to that. There's nothing else. We can wait and sit on our hands for the emergency broadcast system that we keep hearing about, but I think we're the emergency broadcast system. This video is. Your conversation with me right now, it all adds up. It resonates. It's out in the Akashic records. It's floating around the world, and the words are power. Power comes from the words, and that's what the evil people don't want you to know, is that they've been ruling for years with the words. It doesn't matter if it's truth or lies. They can get you with lies and tell you that 9/11 was this, and they can tell you that the virus is that, and they have the power of more words and more devices that push the words because they control the media and the cameras and the feeds. But when we all pull together, because we have all these tools, we have more than they do if we use it. But we can't just be talking about recipes and pictures of puppies and kitties and stuff. When there's a war here, we need to say, well, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to share this, and I'm going to put it out there where people will be awakened in different areas where they need to be awakened. You can approach people and tell them what's going on. We have to do it. It's not going to happen through some emergency broadcast system. We're the awakening. The people just need to wake up, and the way to do it is have the people wake up the rest of the people.
And we can definitely use these evil tools, or sorry, the tools that were pushed forward by the evil elite against themselves, because that's one of their biggest mistakes.
Exactly.
They wanted to use
Exactly.
us, but in fact,
we're turning their weapons against them.
Yeah,
This
there you
thing,
go.
they're putting a weapon out there to program us and confuse us, and then we take the weapon they're using against us and use it against them.
But
So turn the tables.
Tim, but we need education. We need to educate ourselves. We need to open our eyes once we do this, because probably the evil elite never thought that so many people could awaken and learn how to use the weapons against them. So now, guess what? People are awakened because of actions like you, like People Bureau of Investigation. What they're doing, they're trying to make something so simple, widespread, that everyone can actually do what Tim is doing. It takes courage, it takes fatigue, it takes some risks, but eventually, united we can. If everyone would understand that individuals is the key, but individuals put together, not like a mass of sheep following one leader. It's a mass, it's a combination of individual leaders working together for a common scope, for a common goal. That's the power of the people. This is what I believe is one of the concepts behind Teams PBI. And Tim, I think we're running out of time now because it's pretty late here, but I'm telling you right now, I'm making you this promise. If you are with us, we are with you. We're going to have to make more videos like this. We're going to keep each other updated. We're trying to make more actions, trying to make the difference in educating and awakening people behind the principle of free will, free natural right, and awakening. Are you with us? We are with you.
Exactly. Exactly. That's exactly what we need to do. I think would be wise for us to do more videos. I do in the links on that video on Rumble. There's a 5-hour reading of a gentleman that is like a constitutional expert. He has this stuff in his head and it just comes out of his mouth as if he's reading it from a book. It's absolutely amazing. I would say anyone should watch that. I know it may not apply to other countries, but in reality, when we did abolish the corporation, the Constitution is the people's here in the States. So we offered our documentation, our Constitution, to be adopted by everyone on the planet when we did our abolishment of the government in D.C., because that document needs to be used for everybody's goodwill in the world. So then I would recommend you listen to that. I listen to this guy all the
Actually,
time.
what you do, Tim, after we finish this conversation, you're going to send me the link. We're going to publish on our website so that folks who wants to follow up with this, you can go on the explain.net and on PBI.us, and you can find all this information. Tim and I we're going to spread the word. We're going to educate you more on our platforms, so we will have a coordinated effort. So Tim, for sure, you send me the link. We're going to publish it. And one last thing, abolishment of corporation. It's true that it's America may not apply to other countries, but we all know, because of the history, and we don't have time to talk about this right now, but we both know that if America falls, the world falls. If America changes, the world changes. At the moment, America has been always for many decades, actually, since the evil elite rose to power, America and few other countries has been the key for all this nightmare that we are living. So if PBI abolished the corporation of Washington, D.C., that's the corporation, then also other corporation like UK corporation, Italy Corporation, the Vatican Corporation can be abolished because pretty much they work the same way. They may
They're all
have,
the same.
right, all the same,
They're all
exactly.
the same. They're all the same. And the mention when you mention the Vatican, it's Vatican. It was the former United States Corporation,
Exactly.
and then London. Those three are the entity that we could talk about later. But yeah, those three need to be abolished. I'm hoping that they're being abolished. I don't know. I hear a lot of things about the Vatican being raided and so forth, and obviously it's not going to come out in the news.
No.
I hope and pray that things are going down in the right way that on the backside that I hear about. So that's all we can do is hope and pray for that and believe that's going forward, which I believe that.
And continue the fight
Right.
relentlessly.
Never ending. Right.
Okay, Tim. Thank
It's a
you so
hobby.
much.
It's a hobby for me now. Maybe someday we're looking for donations. Obviously, we don't. One day the plan
Of
is
course.
to have our tax dollars actually be spent to go towards this cause. But right now they're spending all our tax dollars overseas so they can launder the money
Yeah,
and bring it
exactly.
back to their filthy hands. But someday when the republic is restored, hopefully this entity will be funded by tax dollars. But
Yeah, absolutely.
right now it's
Absolutely.
just a hobby for me that turned into a passion because I don't like to see people being taken advantage of on a global scale. It's repulsive. So
Yeah, and it's sad, but definitely you're doing something remarkable, and well, I wish you all the best.
well,
with
you
this.
are as well. You are as well because you
Thank you.
interview people and you spread the word. So you're doing great things as well. So I appreciate you out there in Italy.
Thank you, Tim. And well, we're going to talk soon. We're going to plan the next video very soon. And guys who watched us tonight and today, thank you so much. I've seen some comments. I'm going to relate to Tim later about your appreciation, and we're going to keep in touch with you guys. And Tim and I, we're going to keep coordinating more videos, more information. So stay tuned on PBI, the PBI.us and theexplain.net. Right, Tim? That's the
Yes,
website.
sir.
Okay.
That's it. That's the right.
Okay, and
Correct.
then you can also find Tim's Telegram, I guess, and all the information you need about Tim and his mission, his goal. Okay, Tim, thank you so much, and hopefully this video has been recorded so that starting tomorrow we can also continue to publish it in other platforms and continue to awaken people.
God bless everybody. Thank you.
All right.